Liverpool stood at the edge of Champions League elimination. Under the lights at Anfield, they faced a massive quarter-final hurdle, a 2-0 aggregate deficit against Paris Saint-Germain. Overturning a 2-goal gap at this stage of the tournament leaves zero margin for error. It requires maximum offensive output and a flawless execution of the manager's tactical system. Initially, the setup looked incredibly promising. For the first time since December, Alexander Isak returned to the starting lineup, pairing up front with Hugo Ekitike. Isak made his presence felt immediately. Within the opening stretch, he nearly converted a dangerous header from a set piece and broke the line with a sharp run directly behind PSG's defense. Watching those first 30 minutes, you could see a pathway. The physical intensity was there, the positioning was right, and erasing that aggregate deficit felt entirely achievable. But that early optimism was an illusion. A single event in the first half ended their European run and sidelined their primary striker for the rest of the year. The breaking point arrived exactly on the half-hour mark. Ekitike was making a completely standard run across the turf. There were no opposing players challenging him, no heavy tackles. He simply appeared to slip on the Anfield surface and instantly collapsed to the ground. The replays showed the mechanical failure. As Ekitike's foot hit the surface, his Achilles tendon snapped under the sudden, isolated tension. Ekitike was left writhing in obvious agony. The medical staff rushed the pitch, carefully securing him onto a stretcher to carry him off. The exit was incredibly swift. He didn't even make it to the locker room for the halftime team talk. Medical staff had him transported straight home before the first 45 minutes were even over. In professional football, non-contact injuries are the most terrifying sight for a manager. They rarely mean a bruised muscle or a quick recovery. They almost always signal a structural failure that creates a long-term void in the roster. When Arne Slot reached the dressing room at halftime, Ekitike's sudden absence had forced him into a massive tactical corner. Compounding the crisis, Isak also had to be substituted at the break. Coming off his own extended injury absence, Isak was under a strict, pre-planned 45-minute medical restriction to ensure he didn't suffer a relapse. Stripped of two primary attackers, the physical toll cascaded down the remaining roster. Liverpool spent the second half exhausting themselves trying to sprint and cover the sudden gaps on the pitch. By the 67th minute, the strain claimed another casualty. Joe Gomez, who had just come on at halftime, signaled to the bench. Fearing a muscle failure of his own and stating he could no longer sprint safely, he forced another unwanted substitution. The duct-taped squad held on for as long as they could, but total defensive exhaustion finally gave way in the 72nd minute. Ousmane Dembele broke through, netting a late double that cemented a 2-0 victory for PSG on the night, handing Liverpool a crushing 4-0 aggregate exit. The physical slip on the grass triggered a chain reaction. Liverpool lost their lead, their striker, and ultimately the personnel required to execute the manager's tactical plan. Sitting in the post-match press conference, Arne Slot was forced to address the grim reality of his suddenly depleted attacking line. This chart shows 28 combined goals generated by the primary attacking triad. Slot explicitly referred to Wirtz, Isak, and Ekitike as the offensive engine driving Liverpool's season. But with Ekitike removed from the equation, a massive chunk of that output instantly vanishes, and the team cannot simply shift the burden to Alexander Isak. His strict minutes restriction means he physically cannot absorb Ekitike's missing workload without risking his own severe health relapse. The initial medical prognosis is incredibly bleak. Slot acknowledged Ekitike is likely ruled out for the remainder of domestic season and stands as a major doubt for the upcoming World Cup. Liverpool Football Club now faces a stark reality. To salvage their domestic campaign, Arne Slot must either completely tear down and rebuild his tactical formation mid-season, or place the weight of the club's offensive survival on unproven bench depth.